It was a bright summer day in London. The sky was clear blue with no clouds. Hundreds of tourists walked around Buckingham Palace, taking pictures and enjoying the famous sight. Among them was Lisa Thompson, a young woman from America who was visiting London for the first time. Lisa had saved money for 3 years to make this trip. She was 25 years old and worked as a nurse in a small town in Ohio. Her friends called her wild and fun because she always did things that surprised people. This trip was her big dream coming true. "I can't believe I'm really here," Lisa said to herself as she looked at the tall gates of Buckingham Palace. She had seen this place many times in movies and on TV, but being there in person felt different. It felt special. Lisa wore a bright yellow dress and comfortable walking shoes. Her long brown hair was tied back in a ponytail, and she carried a small backpack with her water bottle, map, and camera. She had planned this day carefully and wanted to see everything. What Lisa really wanted to see were the royal guards. These guards were famous for standing very still and never smiling or talking while on duty. They wore red coats and tall black furry hats, and they guarded the palace with serious faces. Lisa walked closer to one of the guards. He was tall and stood perfectly straight. His eyes looked forward, not moving at all. His face showed no feeling. He held his gun against his shoulder and did not blink much. "Wow, he really doesn't move," Lisa whispered to another tourist standing nearby. "I wonder if he gets tired." The other tourist, an older man with a camera, smiled. "They're trained to stand like that for hours. Nothing can make them react. People try all the time." Lisa watched as tourists took pictures with the guard. Everyone stood next to him, smiling at cameras, but always kept some distance. No one touched the guard. There were signs that said, "Do not touch the Queen's Guard," and "Please respect the guard's duty." But Lisa was not like other tourists. Since she was a child, she never liked following all the rules. She always wondered what would happen if she did things differently. An idea came to her mind that made her heart beat faster. "What if I hug him?" she thought. What would he do? Lisa knew this was not allowed. She could get in trouble, but something about the guard's serious face made her curious. He looked so stiff, so formal. Did he ever get to feel normal human kindness while doing his job? She walked closer to the guard. He was young, maybe around her age. His skin was slightly tanned, and she could see he had blue eyes. For a moment, Lisa thought she saw those eyes move slightly to look at her, but she wasn't sure. Lisa took a deep breath. Her hands felt sweaty. She looked around and saw many people watching the guards, taking pictures. No one paid special attention to her. "I'm going to do it," she decided. "Just a quick, friendly hug. What's the worst that could happen?" She didn't know that the guard had a name, James Wilson. She didn't know he had been standing there for almost 2 hours already. She didn't know he had joined the Royal Guards after serving in the army for 3 years. She didn't know this was actually his last week on this job. She didn't know that her simple action would soon change both their lives forever. Lisa stepped forward, closer to James than any tourist was supposed to go. She could smell the wool of his uniform now. Her heart raced with excitement and a little fear. What she was about to do would either be just a funny story to tell her friends back home, or something much bigger than she could imagine. Lisa moved closer to James, the Royal Guard. Her heart beat fast in her chest. Other tourists watched her, some with wide eyes. They could tell she was going to do something unusual. "Excuse me," a woman nearby said to Lisa. "You shouldn't get too close." But Lisa just smiled and kept walking. She took out her phone and pretended to take a selfie. This was a trick. She wanted to look like a normal tourist so no one would stop her. James saw Lisa coming. He had been a guard for 5 years now. Every day, tourists came close to take pictures. But something about this woman seemed different. She had a look in her eyes that made him feel a bit worried. Still, he kept his face straight and looked ahead. That was his job. Lisa stood next to James and held up her phone. She took one picture, then another. Then, when no one was expecting it, she quickly turned and wrapped her arms around James in a big hug. "Thank you for your service," she said loudly. The crowd around them gasped. Some people covered their mouths in shock. Others quickly took pictures and videos. No one had ever seen someone hug a royal guard before. James felt Lisa's arms around him. This had never happened in all his years as a guard. He was trained to stay still, no matter what. If a bee landed on his nose, he should not move. If rain poured down, he should not move. And if a tourist hugged him, he should definitely not move. For 3 long seconds, James stood like a statue. His eyes looked straight ahead. His body was stiff. He followed his training perfectly. Lisa let go and stepped back. She felt a little embarrassed now. The guard had not moved at all. People were staring at her, some looking angry, others looking amused. She wondered if she would get in trouble. "I'm sorry," she said quietly to James. "I just wanted to show my thanks." And that's when it happened. Something that would soon be seen by millions of people online. Something that would change both their lives. James, the perfect royal guard who had never broken the rules, looked down at Lisa. Their eyes met. And then, against all his training, against all the rules, his serious face changed. The corner of his mouth moved up. It was small at first, just a tiny movement. But then it grew into a real smile. The crowd could not believe what they were seeing. A royal guard was smiling. Some people started to clap. Others took more videos. This had never happened before. "You're welcome," James said in a low voice that only Lisa could hear. Lisa's mouth fell open in surprise. Not only did he smile, but he spoke to her. She never expected this to happen. Just then, a man in a dark suit walked quickly toward them. He looked serious and important. He was the guard supervisor, and he did not look happy. "Miss, please step away from the guard," he said firmly to Lisa. Then he turned to James. "Wilson, come with me." Now, James's smile disappeared. He looked straight ahead again. But something had changed. For just a moment, he had been himself, not just a guard. As James marched away with his supervisor, Lisa stood in the crowd, watching him go. Around her, people were talking excitedly. "Did you see that?" He smiled. "I got it all on video. This is going to be huge online." Lisa didn't know what to think. She had just wanted to do something fun and different. Now she worried that she had gotten James in big trouble. Would he lose his job because of her? A young man in the crowd walked up to Lisa. "That was amazing," he said. "I'm Tom, by the way. I'm a reporter for the London Daily News. Would you mind telling me why you hugged the guard?" Lisa looked at Tom, then back at the palace where James had disappeared. She didn't know it yet, but the story of the guard who smiled was already starting to spread across the internet. And by tomorrow morning, both she and James would be famous all over the world. That night, Lisa sat on her hotel bed, looking at her phone with wide eyes. The video of her hugging James had gone viral. It was everywhere, on news websites, on social media, and even on TV. People called it the hug that melted the royal guard. Lisa read the comments under the videos. Some people thought what she did was wrong. They said she should not have touched a royal guard. Other people loved the story. They said it showed that even in strict jobs, people are still human inside. "I never meant for this to happen," Lisa said to herself. She felt bad that James might be in trouble. She wished she could talk to him and say sorry. Meanwhile, across London, James sat in a small office at the guard headquarters. His boss, Captain Richards, was not happy. "Wilson, you broke the most important rule," Captain Richards said in a stern voice. "Royal guards never react. Never. Do you understand how serious this is?" James sat up straight in his chair. "Yes, sir. I understand. This video is all over the internet. The palace officials have seen it. Everyone has seen it," Captain Richards continued. "Do you have anything to say for yourself?" James thought carefully before he spoke. He had been a perfect guard for 5 years. He had never made a mistake until today. But something about that tourist's friendly hug had touched him. Maybe it was because he was tired of standing still all day. Maybe it was because he missed his family who lived far away. Or maybe it was just that Lisa seemed so genuine. "Sir, I know I broke the rules," James said. "I accept any punishment you think is fair." Captain Richards looked at some papers on his desk. His face was serious. Then he did something James didn't expect. He smiled a little. "Wilson, do you know what's happening online right now?" Captain Richards asked. James shook his head. "People love this story. The palace has received thousands of messages. Most of them are positive. People are calling you the human guard, and saying this is the best royal guard story ever." James couldn't believe what he was hearing. He thought he would lose his job. Instead, Captain Richards was telling him that people liked what happened. "The palace officials have been talking," Captain Richards continued. "They think this might actually be good for our image. It shows that the royal guards are real people with hearts, not just robots in fancy uniforms." James felt relief wash over him. "So, I'm not fired?" "No, you're not fired," Captain Richards said. "But there will be some changes. The palace wants to interview you for their official social media. They want to tell your story, why you became a guard, what your life is like. They think it will help people understand our traditions better." Back at her hotel, Lisa was surprised when her phone rang. It was Tom, the reporter she had met earlier. "Lisa, you won't believe this," Tom said excitedly. "The royal palace just released a statement about what happened today." Lisa's heart sank. "Are they angry? Am I in trouble?" "No, just the opposite," Tom said. "They're calling it a heartwarming moment that shows the human side of royal tradition. They want to interview both you and the guard for a special feature." Lisa couldn't believe what she was hearing. "So the guard, James, he's not in trouble because of me?" "Not at all," Tom replied. "In fact, he might become the most famous royal guard ever. And they want you both to meet again, this time officially." Lisa felt happiness and relief flood through her. What had started as a silly, impulsive hug was turning into something much bigger and more meaningful than she could have imagined. Little did she know that this was just the beginning. The story of Lisa and James would soon take an even more surprising turn, one that neither of them could have predicted. And it all started with a simple hug that broke all the rules. The next morning, Lisa woke up to her phone ringing nonstop. Friends and family from back home in Ohio were calling and texting. They had all seen the video. "Lisa, you're famous," her mother said when she finally answered. "Your face is on the morning news here. Everyone is talking about the American nurse who hugged the royal guard." Lisa got out of bed and turned on the TV in her hotel room. Sure enough, there she was on a British news channel. They were showing the video of her hugging James and his surprising smile. The news people were talking about how this small moment had touched people's hearts around the world. There was a knock on her hotel door. When Lisa opened it, she found Tom, the reporter, standing there with a woman in a neat black suit. "Good morning, Lisa," Tom said with a big smile. "This is Ms. Parker from the Royal Communications Office. She has some news for you." Ms. Parker shook Lisa's hand. "Miss Thompson, the palace would like to invite you to a special meeting today. Both you and Guard Wilson will be there. Would that be okay with you?" Lisa couldn't believe her ears. The palace wanted to meet her. This was not how she expected her London trip to go. "Yes, of course," Lisa said. "But am I in trouble?" Ms. Parker smiled. "Not at all. Quite the opposite." Across town, James was getting ready in his small apartment. Today he would not wear his guard uniform. The palace had told him to come in normal clothes. This was very unusual. As he combed his hair, he thought about the tourist who had hugged him. He didn't know much about her, only her name, Lisa Thompson. She was American. And for some reason, her friendly act had made him break rules he had followed for years. "Why did I smile?" he asked himself in the mirror. In all his time as a guard, People had done all kinds of things to try to make him react. They made faces, told jokes, even shouted at him. But he had always stayed serious and still. Until yesterday. Maybe it was because yesterday was already special for James. What no one knew was that 2 days ago, he had made a big decision about his life. He had decided to leave his job as a Royal Guard. After 5 years, he wanted to do something different. He wanted to work with people, not stand still all day. He had already turned in his resignation letter, and he only had 2 weeks left as a guard. The hug from Lisa had come on his third to last week of work. Maybe that's why he smiled. He was already thinking about his new life. At 11 o'clock, a fancy black car picked up James and took him to a small private room in Buckingham Palace. When he walked in, he saw Lisa sitting there, looking nervous. Also in the room were Captain Richards, Ms. Parker, and an older man James recognized as Sir William Hastings, the head of royal security. "Mr. Wilson, please have a seat," Sir William said. "And thank you for coming, Miss Thompson." Lisa and James looked at each other. This was the first time they had seen each other properly, face to face. James was not in his tall hat and red coat now. He was wearing normal clothes, jeans, and a blue shirt. He looked younger and more friendly than he had as a guard. "First," Sir William said, "I want to make it clear that neither of you is in trouble." Lisa and James both relaxed a little when they heard this. "What happened yesterday was unusual," Sir William continued. "But sometimes unusual things can lead to good opportunities. The public reaction to your video has been overwhelming. People love this human moment in the middle of our very formal traditions." He pushed a folder across the table. "We have a proposal for both of you, something that might seem strange at first, but please hear me out." Lisa and James looked at each other again, both wondering what could be in that folder. Neither of them could have guessed the amazing opportunity that was about to change both their lives forever. Sir William opened the folder and took out some papers with the royal seal on them. "The palace wants to use what happened yesterday for a new program," he explained. "We want to show people the human side of royal traditions. For many years, we have been very strict and formal. But times are changing, and we need to change too." Lisa and James listened carefully, still confused about why they were there. "We want to start a new tour called The Human Side of the Palace," Sir William continued, "and we would like both of you to help us with it." James spoke first. "How could we help with that, sir?" Sir William smiled. "James, you've been a guard for 5 years. You know all about our traditions and rules. And Lisa, you represent the curious tourists who visit us. Together, you could show people both sides of the palace experience." Lisa couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You want us to work together? On a tour?" "Yes," Sir William said. "For the next month. We would pay both of you, of course." James looked surprised. "Sir, as you know, I gave my resignation letter last week. I'm supposed to finish my job as a guard soon." "I know," Sir William nodded. "This would be a perfect final project before you leave, and it might help you with your next job, whatever that may be." Lisa thought about her situation. She was supposed to stay in London for just 2 more days before flying home to Ohio. But this was such an amazing chance. How could she say no? "I would need to change my flight home," Lisa said, "and take more time off work." "We can help with all of that," Ms. Parker said. "We'll pay for your hotel for the month, change your flight, and even call your boss to explain the situation." James and Lisa looked at each other. Just yesterday, they were strangers. She was just a tourist, and he was just a guard. Now they were being asked to work together on a special project for the royal palace. "What exactly would we do on this tour?" James asked. Captain Richards spoke up. "You would take small groups of visitors around the palace grounds. James would explain the history and traditions of the guards. Lisa would ask questions that tourists might want to know. You would tell the story of your viral moment. And at the end, you would take a picture with each group. And one more thing," Sir William added. We want to film the first tour and put it online. We think people all over the world would like to see the two of you working together." Lisa thought about how her life had changed in just one day. She came to London as a regular tourist. Now she was sitting in Buckingham Palace being offered a job. It was like a dream. James was thinking too. He had joined the Royal Guards because he loved history and tradition. But after 5 years of standing still for hours every day, he had decided it was time for something new. This project seemed like the perfect way to end his time as a guard. "I'll do it," James said. "Me too," Lisa added. Sir William looked pleased. "Excellent. You'll start tomorrow. The first tour will be for a special group, children from a local hospital. We think they'll love meeting the famous hugging guard and the brave tourist." As they left the meeting, Lisa and James walked together through the palace hallways. They were no longer guard and tourist. Now they were partners. "I still can't believe this is happening," Lisa said. "Yesterday I was just taking pictures like any other tourist. Now I'm going to be giving tours of Buckingham Palace." James smiled. It was the same warm smile that had made him famous. Life can change quickly, can't it? "By the way, I never properly introduced myself. I'm James Wilson." He held out his hand, and Lisa shook it. "Lisa Thompson. Nice to meet you, James." What they didn't know was that their story was about to get even more interesting. The month they would spend working together would bring surprises that neither of them could imagine. And the children's tour tomorrow would be just the beginning. The next morning, Lisa woke up early. She felt both excited and nervous about the first tour. She put on the nice blue dress and jacket that Miss Parker had sent to her hotel room. There was even a small pin with the royal symbol on it. Lisa pinned it to her jacket and looked in the mirror. "I look like I actually work at the palace," she said to herself with a smile. At the same time, James was getting ready too. He wore his guard uniform, but not the tall black hat. Instead, he wore a simpler cap that made it easier to talk to people. For 5 years, he had worn this uniform and stood still for hours. Today would be different. Today he would talk and move and share his knowledge with visitors. They met at a small side entrance to the palace. Ms. Parker was there with a camera crew. "Good morning," she said brightly. "Are you both ready for your first tour? The children are very excited to meet you." Lisa and James nodded, though both looked a bit worried. "Don't worry," Ms. Parker assured them. "Just be yourselves. That's what people liked about your video. It was real and natural." Soon, a small bus pulled up. Out came 15 children from the Royal Children's Hospital, along with their nurses and a few parents. The children were between 6 and 12 years old. Some of them were in wheelchairs. Others walked slowly with helpers. All of them had big smiles when they saw James in his guard uniform. "It's the smiling guard," one little boy shouted. "I saw you on my mom's phone." James felt himself blush a little. He was used to people looking at him as a guard, but not like this. Not as a person they recognized. Lisa stepped forward. "Welcome to Buckingham Palace. I'm Lisa, and this is James. We're going to show you some special places today and tell you our story." The tour began. James led the way, showing the children where the guards stand and explaining what they do. Lisa asked questions that made James smile and laugh. Things like, do guards ever have to go to the bathroom while on duty? And what happens if you get an itch on your nose? The children loved it. They asked their own questions too. James answered all of them honestly and kindly. He was not the stiff, serious guard anymore. He was friendly and funny. "Has anyone else ever made you smile while you were on guard duty?" asked a girl in a wheelchair. James shook his head. "No, Lisa was the first. In 5 years as a guard, I never smiled or broke my pose, until she gave me that hug." "Why did you hug him?" a small boy asked Lisa. Lisa thought for a moment. "I'm not really sure. I guess I just wanted to thank him. And a hug seemed like the right way to do it. I didn't think he would smile." "Can we hug him too?" another child asked. Ms. Parker looked worried, but James nodded. Of course you can. One by one, the children gave James hugs. He smiled at each one of them. The camera crew filmed everything. Lisa watched with a warm feeling in her heart. What had started as her silly, impulsive action was bringing joy to these children. At the end of the tour, they took a group picture. James stood tall in his uniform, and Lisa stood next to him. The children gathered around them, all smiling widely. This is going to be wonderful for our social media, Ms. Parker said. The public will love it. As the children got back on their bus, one little girl came up to Lisa and James. She gave them each a drawing she had made. It showed a stick figure in a red coat being hugged by another stick figure. That's you too, she said. My mom says you showed everyone that even when people have serious jobs, there's still people inside. Lisa felt tears in her eyes. James looked touched too. After the children left, James turned to Lisa. That went better than I expected. Lisa nodded. It was wonderful. But I have a feeling this is just the beginning. She was right. Neither of them knew that the video of their tour with the children would soon be seen by millions more people, including someone very important, who would change their lives even more. The video of Lisa and James with the children went online that evening. By morning, it had over 5 million views. People loved seeing the now famous guard and tourist working together and making the children happy. Over the next 2 weeks, Lisa and James gave tours every day. They became more comfortable working together. Lisa learned about royal history from James. James learned how to be more relaxed and friendly with visitors from Lisa. They were a good team. After each tour, they often had lunch together in the palace staff cafeteria. They talked about their lives. Lisa told James about her work as a nurse in Ohio. James told Lisa about his 5 years as a guard and his plans for the future. What will you do after this month is over? Lisa asked one day as they ate sandwiches. James looked thoughtful. I'm not sure yet. I studied teaching in college before I joined the Guards. I might try to become a history teacher. You'd be good at that, Lisa said. You explain things so well on the tours. James smiled. What about you? Will you go back to nursing in Ohio? Lisa nodded, but she didn't look happy about it. I have to. My job is waiting for me. But I'll miss London. And she stopped, looking a bit shy. And what? James asked. And I'll miss these tours. Working with you. It's been fun, Lisa said quickly. James was about to respond when Miss Parker rushed into the cafeteria, looking excited. There you are, she said. I've been looking everywhere for you too. I have amazing news. Lisa and James looked at her with surprise. The Queen watched your video with the children. Ms. Parker said. She loved it. And now she wants to meet you both. Lisa nearly dropped her sandwich. The Queen wants to meet us. James looked shocked too. Even though he had worked at the palace for 5 years, he had only seen the Queen from a distance during special events. Yes, Ms. Parker nodded. Tomorrow afternoon. She wants to thank you personally for helping show the friendly side of the palace. That night, Lisa could barely sleep. She was going to meet the Queen of England. When she had planned her trip to London, she had hoped to maybe see the Queen from far away if she was very lucky. Never in her wildest dreams did she think she would actually meet her. James couldn't sleep either. Meeting the Queen was a great honor. He wondered what he should say to her. Should he tell her that he was planning to leave his job as a guard? Would she be disappointed? The next day, Lisa wore her best dress, a simple but elegant green one that her mother had helped her pack just in case something special happens. James wore his full guard uniform, perfectly clean and pressed. They were taken to a small, beautifully decorated room in a part of the palace that tourists never see. There were paintings on the walls and fancy furniture that looked very old and valuable. Remember, Ms. Parker told them, address her as Your Majesty first, then Ma'am after that. Don't speak unless she speaks to you first, and no hugging. She looked at Lisa when she said this last part. Lisa nodded seriously. She definitely wasn't planning to hug the Queen. They waited nervously for 10 minutes. Then a door opened and the Queen walked in. She was smaller than Lisa expected, but she had a warm smile and kind eyes. She wore a light blue dress and a small crown. "So," the Queen said as she sat down, and motioned for them to sit too. "You're the hugger and the smiler who have been causing such a stir at my palace." Lisa and James looked at each other, not sure if they were in trouble. But then they saw that the Queen was smiling at them. She wasn't angry at all. "Your Majesty," James began, "we hope we haven't caused any problems for the palace." The Queen waved her hand. "Not at all. Quite the opposite. You've helped us show that behind all our traditions and rules, we are real people, and that's important in today's world." She looked at them both carefully. "And now, I have a special request for you two." Lisa and James sat very still, waiting to hear the Queen's special request. The room was quiet. Even Miss Parker looked curious. "Next month," the Queen began, "we are having a special event at the palace. Leaders from 20 countries will come here to talk about helping children around the world. We want to show them that even old traditions can change and become more friendly." She looked at Lisa and James with kind eyes. "I would like you both to be part of this event. You would give a short tour to these important visitors and tell them your story." Lisa couldn't believe what she was hearing. She, a regular nurse from Ohio, would meet leaders from around the world. It seemed impossible. James felt surprised too. He had planned to leave his guard job in just one more week. Now the Queen herself was asking him to stay longer for this special event. "It would be a great honor, Your Majesty," James said, "but I should mention that I had planned to leave my position as a guard soon." The Queen nodded. "Yes, Captain Richards told me. That's why this is a request, not an order. You are free to say no." Lisa looked at James. She knew she should go back to Ohio soon. Her boss had been very understanding about her staying in London for a month, but asking for more time might be too much. Still, this was such an amazing chance. "When is this event, Your Majesty?" Lisa asked. "In 3 weeks," the Queen replied. "I know it's asking a lot for you to stay longer, Miss Thompson. We would, of course, take care of all your expenses and speak to your employer." Lisa thought about her small apartment in Ohio, her job at the hospital, her normal life. Then she thought about this incredible adventure she was having, all because of one impulsive hug. "I would be honored to do it," Lisa said. She looked at James, wondering what he would say. James was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, that same warm smile that had made him famous. "I would be honored too, Your Majesty." The Queen looked pleased. "Excellent. Miss Parker will give you all the details." As they were leaving, the Queen said one more thing. "You know, in my many years as Queen, I've learned that the most important moments are often the ones we don't plan. Sometimes a small, kind action, like a hug, can change everything." Back outside the palace, Lisa and James walked slowly through the garden. Both were thinking about the Queen's words. "Will your boss really let you stay away from your job for another 3 weeks?" James asked. Lisa shrugged. "I hope so. I have a lot of vacation time saved up, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance." She paused. "What about you? You were ready to leave your guard job. Do you mind staying longer?" James looked up at the palace. "No, I don't mind. Actually, I've been thinking." He stopped, seeming unsure whether to continue. "Thinking what?" Lisa asked. "I've been thinking that maybe I don't want to be a regular history teacher after all," James said. "Working with you on these tours has shown me something new. I like sharing history with people in a more personal way. I might try to work as a tour guide at a museum or historic site." Lisa smiled. "You'd be great at that." They walked in silence for a while. Then Lisa spoke again. "It's funny, isn't it? If I hadn't hugged you that day, none of this would have happened." James nodded. And if I hadn't smiled back, we wouldn't be here either. What neither of them said was that they were both starting to feel something more than just friendship. During their weeks of working together, giving tours and having lunch, they had grown close. Lisa was starting to wonder if she really wanted to go back to Ohio at all, and James was wondering if there might be a reason to visit America someday. The next 3 weeks would be busy as they prepared for the special event with world leaders, but they would also be important weeks for Lisa and James as they figured out what they really wanted for their futures. The day of the special event finally arrived. The palace was busy with people setting up. Flags from 20 different countries hung in the main hall. Security guards checked every corner. Everything had to be perfect. Lisa stood in front of the mirror in her hotel room. She wore a beautiful dark blue dress that the palace had given her for this important day. Her hair was done nicely, and she wore small pearl earrings that her grandmother had given her. She looked very different from the casual tourist who had hugged a guard 2 months ago. At the palace, James put on his guard uniform one last time. This would truly be his final day as a royal guard. Tomorrow, he would start his new life. He had already accepted a job at the British Museum as a special tour guide. The museum had called him after seeing his tours at the palace online. They wanted someone who could make history interesting and personal for visitors. When Lisa arrived at the palace, James was waiting for her. For a moment, they just looked at each other. "You look very nice," James said with a smile. "So do you," Lisa replied. "Ready for our biggest tour yet?" Before James could answer, Miss Parker rushed over. "They're coming. The leaders are arriving now. Remember, just be yourselves and tell your story like we practiced." Lisa and James stood at the entrance to the palace gardens. One by one, fancy cars pulled up, and important people got out. There were presidents and prime ministers from around the world. Some wore suits, others wore traditional clothes from their countries. All of them looked very important. The tour began. James and Lisa walked through the palace grounds with the world leaders following them. James explained the history of the guards and the palace. Lisa told the story of how she decided to hug James that day and how he surprised everyone by smiling. It taught us all that even in places with strict rules and old traditions, there is still room for human connection, Lisa said to the group. The world leaders seemed interested. Some asked questions. Others took pictures. When the tour ended, many of them shook hands with Lisa and James. "You have shown us something important today," one leader said. "Sometimes small changes in human moments can make big traditions even better." After all the important guests left for their meeting with the Queen, Lisa and James stood alone in the palace garden. Their job was done. Their time together was almost over. So, James said quietly, "You go back to Ohio tomorrow." Lisa nodded. "My flight leaves at noon." They were both quiet for a moment. Then they both started speaking at the same time. "I've been thinking," James began. "I wanted to tell you," Lisa said. They laughed, and James said, "You go first." Lisa took a deep breath. "I've been thinking a lot about going back home. And I realized something. Being here, doing these tours with you, has made me happier than I've been in a long time. So I called a hospital here in London last week. They have a job opening for a nurse. I applied for it." James looked surprised. "You want to stay in London?" Lisa nodded. "If they give me the job, yes." "What were you going to say?" James smiled his famous smile. "I was going to say that I found a reason to visit America. I was going to ask if I could visit you in Ohio sometime." Lisa laughed. "Well, now you won't have to travel so far to see me." "Does that mean you want me to visit you?" James asked, looking hopeful. "I think it means we should have dinner together tomorrow night," Lisa said. "And maybe the night after that too." James took her hand. "I'd like that very much." 2 years later, Lisa and James stood in the exact spot where they first met. Lisa wore a white dress. James wore a nice suit, not a guard uniform. Around them stood their families and friends. The palace had given them special permission to have their wedding in this spot. As they said their vows, tourists watched from a distance, taking pictures. One little girl asked her mother, "Who are those people?" "That's the tourist who hugged a royal guard," her mother explained. And that's the guard who smiled back. Their hug became famous around the world. "Why did she hug him?" the little girl asked. "I guess she just wanted to show kindness," her mother said. And sometimes, kindness can change your whole life.